The festive party season is in full swing, but with Christmas celebration often comes an increase in drug and alcohol use.
Joining us now are the co-founders of PsyCare Ireland, Michael Ledden and Dr. Catherine Ledden, to share vital advice on staying safe while enjoying the festivities. You're both very welcome. Thanks for joining us.
Guys.
Thank you.
It's party season. That means party drugs, Michael. And I suppose, well, looking at the research from yourselves in terms of the users of your PsyCare service, 243 of the 294 people that availed of your service used drugs intentionally. So they knew what they were getting themselves into. It was part of the party scene that they were engaging in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose with our service, while we're not condoning drug use in any way, we do acknowledge that it exists. And I would say that like none of those people intended to come in contact with our service or come to harm that night. They were on a night out or at a festival. But it kind of maybe just goes to show some of the risks out there that when we put substances and drugs and alcohol into our bodies, we don't know what the outcome is going to be. And yeah, those people needed help and we were glad to give it.
Yeah, but they just thought it was part of, it was just normal, Kat. That this is just a part of going out, like having a couple of beers, the drugs are just part of it.
I think that has become the way for a lot of younger people in particular, but it isn't only younger people either. You know, like we were previously on the show and we spoke about how cocaine has infiltrated many different areas of Irish society. So the demographic of people using substances has changed and public attitudes are definitely changing.
But the worry, Kat, is the mixture of drugs. And like you said, we don't condone the use of it because to buy it, sell it, supply it, or use it is illegal. But to mix alcohol and drugs is very dangerous.
Indeed, it can be. And of course, it depends on a whole range of individual factors. The timing, what the person's physical health is, usually their own mental health, if they're taking any medications. And sometimes people don't only use alcohol with one substance, they might mix with 3, 4, 5 different substances. And we have seen that a lot at festivals this year. And the party season is no exception to that.
Yeah, everyone's having a good time. So, Michael, we've mentioned cocaine, we've mentioned alcohol. What are the other party drugs that people need to be aware of?
Yeah, so I suppose we'd see quite a lot of ketamine use, which is a dissociative. MDMA or ecstasy is one that's been around for quite a long time, and very tragically, even this week, you know, an inquest found for a 17-year-old who died outside the Tree Arena that it was an ecstasy overdose. So ecstasy is a huge, huge problem area where we don't know people don't know the actual strength of ecstasy pills that they're taking. So that's a huge one for people to be aware of. Mixing benzodiazepines with, say, alcohol, cocaine, or ketamine. Cannabis is obviously a classic one as well. So there's a whole kind of swathe of things, and really without drug testing, it's very hard for people to know, say, even the drugs that they normally get, maybe because of increased supply and demand issues in the drug market, the drugs that they're taking might not be the thing that they're expecting.
Yeah, right. There could be synthetic versions of it, which can cause massive problems.
There's a long list. But then you've got the risk then of, like Martin just mentioned, mixing. You know, you could take a bit of this and a bit of that, and all of a sudden it could cause catastrophic issues in terms of your health then. Absolutely,
your health and mental health as well. You know, that these drugs, while people are on them, they can have mental health issues, and also particularly with Christmas season, with partying maybe days on end, losing track of days, you know, the consequences for mental health then in the dark days around Christmas and coming into January can be really, really severe. So we really ask people just to exercise that little bit of caution, maybe think it through. What substances are you going to take? Maybe set a limit on the amount of nights out you're going to have. Tell your friends, you know, if you're planning on taking something, that you stick together on that. Don't leave each other alone. Monitor each other, and, you know, if you see a friend in trouble, don't be afraid to call for a medic. You know, call 999, or if you're in a club, to go seek help, because they won't be in trouble. But the other outcome could be fatal, or catastrophic.
Yeah, I think about Kat, about people who might head out, be it to a Christmas party or for any kind of night out at any time of year, who might be on medication anyway. They could be on antidepressants. Then to load this stuff into their bodies as well, is going to have a catastrophic effect.
Yes, it can do, and particularly substances that affect on the same neurotransmitters or chemicals in the brain. So say, for example, serotonin, that many antidepressants act on. They can be very dangerous in combination with substances like MDMA, and sometimes people might not get the effect that they expect because they're on those medications, and they might take more, which can lead to overdose. So it's really important to just check in with yourself, and I suppose asking yourself, do I need to take this Christmas to have a nice time? You know, and just to not feel peer pressured, I think, is a really important message for anybody out there.
How do you deal with that?
It's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. I think that knowing your own boundaries around substance use and maybe communicating that with your friends at the very start of an evening, like maybe acknowledging even privately to yourself, like, I've had a tough year, maybe it's a bereavement or a breakup or something like that, and saying, I just want to look after myself and I'm going to prioritise my own well-being. Yeah. People are usually very on board when you communicate things. Yeah. You don't have to disclose the full story necessarily, but I think even people have come a long way in accepting that not everybody drinks on a night out. So I think that we need to encourage people to, you know, be okay with people not taking substances.
Yeah, and stop. You're not doing your friend a favour if you're trying to push them into doing something that they don't want to do.
In terms of taking impure drugs, then, Michael, like you mentioned, you don't know what you're taking. Is there any means of ensuring, you know, I know what it is I'm taking? It's
Well, in Ireland right now, there actually isn't a publicly available drug testing service. I believe the HSE are bringing in the gold standard in a testing lab that should be available soon, but that's not available right now. So really at the moment, there isn't really a way. So I suppose the general advice would be if you're choosing to take substances, to start low and go very slow with it. So say if it's an ecstasy pill, break that into quarters, you know, rather than taking the whole thing. Because again, even the pill you took 5 years ago, it looks the same. You said, oh, I was grand on that. You take it now, it might have 3 times the recommended dose in it, which can be very dangerous. So it's probably is going very slow with testing to see how your body reacts with this thing. And this can also be the danger in nightclubs and kind of on dance floors where people they're cautious about doing it. So they're not even aware of how much they're taking. They're kind of throwing it into themselves, and that can be really risky. So yeah, it's if you are going to really take it very, very slowly to see what it is that you have.
Okay. Just very quickly before we wrap, PsyCare, you're non-judgmental. We're not endorsing the use of drugs.
Well, that was it. Like even in your answer there, you're thinking, well, don't first of all. But then, like, people are going to. So it's a non-judgmental service, and it is a service that people can reach out to if they find themselves in a situation where they need help.
Yeah, and absolutely. And you'll find us mostly in the festival areas, but it was actually just recently announced that in Dublin City there are going to be some safe zones and welfare zones for people who are on nights out who are getting into, say, you know, medical or psychological difficulty. So I think the locations are to be announced, but I'd say to people, keep an eye out for those if you're in Dublin. And please God, you know, they'll be in all towns and cities.
We really hope that will be the case. You know, it's so needed out on the streets, like when people go out in town. But also if people are struggling at home, don't be afraid to ring 999, even if, like, you know, suicide can come up for people at this time of year. It can be quite strong. So I think it's important for people to remember that you might not have access to your regular support services, but that you can still call an ambulance, or you can still access outside of our supports, like Samaritans, for example.
Yeah, and you're not going to get in trouble. Non-judgmental is the important word. And it's happening, you know, party season is happening outside of festivals. I thank you both so much for joining us, Michael and Kat. And fingers crossed everyone's going to be safe and okay this Christmas.
Absolutely.
Cheers, guys.
Okay. Cheers.
Thanks.
Right, for more information from Michael and Catherine, you can visit PsyCareIreland.org. That's PsyCareIreland.org. And if you've been affected by anything we've discussed today, information and support is available at drugs.ie.
After the break, we're reliving the best GAA sporting moments of the year. We'll see you for that in just a few minutes.